The crystalline walls of the Xoranian vessel Starweaver pulsed with a sickly amber glow, a far cry from their usual brilliant blue radiance. Commander Lyra Venn pressed her scaled hand against the living crystal, feeling the ship's weakening heartbeat through her sensitized palm nodes. After 15 generations of peaceful exploration, the Starweaver was dying, and with it, the last hope of her species. Life support failing in sectors 7 through 12, announced First Officer Kex, his translucent wings trembling with exhaustion. We've lost another cryopod cluster. 37 more civilians at risk. Lyra's secondary hearts clenched at the news. They'd fled their dying world with over 800 survivors in cryogenic suspension, the last remnants of Xoranian civilization after the quantum cascade that had devastated their star system. Now, 3 months into their desperate journey through uncharted space, they were down to 642 souls. Each loss felt like a personal failure. "Reroute power from the tertiary navigation systems," she ordered, her throat frills flaring with determination. "We can navigate by stellar positioning for now. Priority is maintaining cryostasis." "Commander," called out Science Officer Tara Vex from her crystalline console, her normally iridescent scales dulled with stress. "I'm detecting unusual energy signatures ahead. It's a ship, but unlike anything in our database." Lyra moved to the forward observation dome, her eyes adjusting to peer through the quantum distortion. The vessel ahead was unlike anything she'd ever seen. No crystalline architecture, no organic curves, just stark geometric angles and metal. It was neither beautiful nor elegant by Xoranian standards, but something about its sturdy construction spoke of reliability. "They're broadcasting something," Kex reported, adjusting their receivers. It's a repeating message, using simple mathematical sequences as a base. They're trying to communicate. The message, when decoded, was surprisingly straightforward. "This is the United Earth Ship Horizon. We detect multiple system failures in your vessel. Do you require assistance?" Humans, they'd heard rumors of this species, whispered tales from passing traders before their world's collapse. A young race, barely a century into faster-than-light travel, yet already gaining a reputation for their unconventional solutions and willingness to help strangers. Pride and caution warred in Lyra's mind. Xoranian culture emphasized self-reliance, and their bioorganic technology was far more advanced than anything these humans could possess. But with 642 lives in the balance, pride was a luxury they couldn't afford. "Open a channel," she commanded, straightening her spine. "This is Commander Lyra Venn of the Xoranian vessel Starweaver. We have critical systems failure and hundreds of civilians in failing cryostasis. Any assistance would be," she swallowed hard, "greatly appreciated." The response was immediate. "Understood, Commander. Maintain your position. We're launching emergency response shuttles now. Our engineers are studying your ship's specifications. We'll find a way to help." Lyra watched as several smaller vessels detached from the human ship, their designs just as utilitarian as their mother vessel. Through the observation dome, she could see suited figures emerging, their movements purposeful and efficient. "Commander," Tara called out, her voice tight with concern, "primary power core is destabilizing. We have maybe 2 hours before total system failure." Lyra looked at her crew, the last trained specialists of their kind, then at the approaching human vessels. Everything they were, everything they knew, all their hopes for preserving their civilization, now rested in the hands of aliens they'd never met. "Open all accessible airlocks," she ordered. "Share our technical databases with their engineers. If we're going to survive this, we need to trust them completely." As the humans drew closer, Lyra felt something she hadn't experienced since they'd fled their dying world. Hope. Perhaps there was something to be said for reaching out to others, for acknowledging that no species, no matter how advanced, had all the answers. The next few minutes would prove crucial, but as she watched the humans begin their approach, Lyra realized that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in standing alone, but in having the wisdom to accept help when it's offered. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the UES Horizon had seen her share of deep space emergencies, but nothing quite like this. The alien vessel before them seemed to be alive, its crystalline surface pulsing with failing bioluminescence. Through the viewport of her emergency shuttle, she could see hairline fractures spreading across its hull like veins in dying leaves. "Engineering, what are we looking at?" she asked, studying the preliminary scans. Chief Engineer Raj Patel's voice crackled through the comm. "It's incredible, Captain. Their ship isn't just biological, it's a single living organism integrated with technology we barely understand. The power core appears to be some kind of quantum organic fusion, but it's destabilizing rapidly. Life signs, over 600 in some form of suspended animation, plus about 20 active crew members. Their life support is different from anything we've seen. They seem to process energy directly through their cellular structure." Maya nodded, making her decision. "Deploy the emergency quantum stabilizers. Dr. Zhang, prepare the medical bay for xenobiological support. We're going to need every trick in the book for this one." The shuttle docked with a metallic clang that seemed almost vulgar against the organic architecture of the alien vessel. Maya led her team through the airlock, their environmental suits scanning and adjusting to the ship's atmosphere. The corridor they entered was unlike anything in human engineering. Walls that seemed to breathe, floors that adjusted to their steps, and everywhere, that failing amber pulse. They were met by a group of aliens that took Maya's breath away. Tall, graceful beings with iridescent scales and delicate wings, their bodies seeming to shimmer with internal light. The leader stepped forward, and Maya recognized the voice from their earlier communication. "Commander Ven," Maya said, removing her helmet after the atmospheric readings cleared. "I'm Captain Rodriguez. We're here to help." The alien commander's throat frills rippled, an expression Maya couldn't interpret. "Captain, our ship, she's dying. With her, the last hope of our civilization may be lost." "Not if we can help it," Maya replied firmly. "Show us what we're dealing with." The next hour was a crash course in Xeranian technology. Maya's team spread throughout the vessel, working alongside the alien crew. The Xeranians' bioorganic technology was decades ahead of anything humanity had achieved, but it was failing in ways their creators had never anticipated. "The quantum cascade that destroyed our world," Lyra explained as they hurried toward the primary core. "It created a ripple effect. Our technology, being partially organic, is susceptible to quantum degradation. We thought we had contained it, but it's still spreading," Maya finished, studying the readings on her handheld scanner. "Your ship isn't just failing, it's sick. The quantum degradation is like a virus, corrupting your systems at the molecular level." They reached the core chamber, a vast spherical space dominated by a crystalline structure that pulsed with failing light. Chief Patel was already there, working with Science Officer Tara Vex, their different approaches to technology creating an unlikely symphony of innovation. "Captain," Raj called out, his face grave, "we can stabilize their core temporarily using our quantum dampers, but it's not a permanent solution. The degradation is too far advanced." Maya watched as more fractures spread across the crystal walls. "How many can we evacuate?" "The Horizon can accommodate maybe 200 in emergency conditions," Raj replied. "But their cryopods are integrated into this ship's systems. If we disconnect them, the shock would kill them," Lyra finished, her scales dulling visibly. "Captain, those pods contain our children, our scientists, our artists, everything that remains of our civilization." Maya felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. It was about preserving an entire species, their knowledge, their culture, everything they had ever been or hoped to be. "What if," Maya began, an idea forming, "what if we don't evacuate them? What if we take your whole ship?" "The Starweaver is nearly twice the size of your vessel," Lyra objected, "and our quantum degradation would risk contaminating your systems." Not if we do it right, Maya insisted, turning to her chief engineer. Raj, remember that experimental towing configuration we developed for the Titan mission? Could we modify it to create a quantum isolation field? Raj's eyes lit up with understanding. Using their crystalline technology to amplify our field generators. Yes, it could work. We'd need to reconfigure our entire power grid, and we'd be running on minimal systems. But do it, Maya ordered. Commander Ven, we'll need your crew's expertise to interface our technologies. We have maybe an hour before the degradation reaches critical levels. For a moment, Lyra stood perfectly still, her alienness never more apparent than in that moment of decision. Then her throat frills flared with determination. Whatever you need, Captain. We trust you. As their crews scrambled to implement the desperate plan, Maya caught Lyra's eye. Commander, I have to ask, why did you trust us so quickly? We're strangers, primitives compared to your technology. Lyra's scales shifted, creating patterns that might have been a smile. Because, Captain, when we called for help, you didn't ask what we could offer in return. In all our advanced civilization, that's something we had forgotten. The simple grace of helping others simply because they need it. The next hours would test both crews to their limits, but in that moment, two leaders from vastly different worlds shared an understanding that transcended their differences. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations have the most to learn from the younger ones. Trust in the void. The next 3 hours aboard the dying Starweaver became a symphony of organized chaos as human and Xoranian crews raced against time. The ship's crystalline corridors echoed with the sounds of two species working in desperate harmony. Human boots on living crystal floors, Xoranian wings humming in the recycled air, and the constant background pulse of failing systems. In the engineering core, Chief Raj Patel worked alongside Terra Vex, their differences becoming their greatest strength. Raj's practical human engineering complemented Terra's intimate understanding of bioorganic systems in ways neither had anticipated. The quantum degradation is like a disease, Terra explained, her scaled hands dancing over the crystal controls. It corrupts the very foundation of our technology's molecular structure. But your mechanical systems, they're immune, Raj finished, making adjustments to his quantum field generator. They might be less advanced, but sometimes simpler is better. We just need to create a buffer zone between our technologies. The generator hummed to life, creating a shimmering barrier between the human and Xoranian systems. Where the two fields met, unexpected patterns formed. Beautiful fractal designs that neither species had seen before. It's working, Terra whispered, her scales shifting to a brighter hue. The degradation is slowing at the intersection points. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Emily Chen from the Horizon worked with Xoranian healer next to monitor the cryopods. The frozen civilians inside were more than just passengers. They were the last repository of an entire civilization's culture and knowledge. Their neural patterns are incredibly complex, Emily observed, studying the bio-readings. Even in suspended animation, their minds are active, preserving memories and cultural data. Nex's throat frills rippled with emotion. Our species evolved to pass knowledge through a form of genetic memory. Each of these pods contains not just an individual, but a living library of our history, our arts, our sciences. If we lose them, Emily placed a hand on Nex's shoulder, a gesture that transcended their biological differences. We won't lose them. Humanity has a long history of preserving endangered cultures. It's one of our greatest strengths. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez and Commander Ven coordinated the massive undertaking of linking their ships. The Horizon's towing cables, modified with Xoranian crystal technology, created a network of quantum-stabilized connections between the vessels. Power output at 60% and holding, reported Lieutenant James Foster from the Horizon. Quantum field integrity stable. Begin synchronized power transfer, Maya ordered. Gentle and steady. We're not just moving a ship, we're transporting a living organism. The process was delicate, Too much power would overwhelm the Starweaver's failing systems. Too little would allow the quantum degradation to spread. It required perfect coordination between both crews, a dance of technology and trust. In the rest areas, off-duty crew members from both ships found themselves sharing meals and stories. Human coffee met Xeranian light nectar, and despite their vast differences, common ground emerged. "Your species is so young," marveled Xeranian navigator Kira to a group of human engineers. "Yet you've already learned lessons it took us millennia to understand." "Maybe because we had to," replied engineer Sarah Martinez. "We nearly destroyed ourselves several times before reaching the stars. It taught us the value of cooperation, of reaching out to those in need." The Starweaver shuddered, her crystalline structure groaning under the strain of the quantum fields. Every crew member held their breath, but the fields held. The two ships, now linked by technology and trust, began their slow journey through space. In a quiet moment, Lyra found Maya in the observation dome, watching the stars streak by at sublight speed. The human captain had removed her uniform jacket, revealing the scars of previous rescue missions, evidence of a life spent helping others. "Your crew," Lyra began, her voice carrying new harmonics of respect. "They never questioned the risk. Even knowing the quantum degradation could spread to your ship, they didn't hesitate." Maya smiled, her eyes on the distant stars. "That's humanity for you. We're too curious for our own good sometimes, too willing to help even when it might hurt us. But it's served us well so far." "We had forgotten that," Lyra admitted. "In our pursuit of advancement, we isolated ourselves, believed we had all the answers. Perhaps that's why we couldn't save ourselves when the cascade began." "But you're saving yourselves now," Maya pointed out, "by being willing to accept help, to trust strangers, to adapt. Sometimes the strongest civilizations are the ones that can admit they don't have all the answers." A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the steady hum of the quantum fields and the breathing of the living ship. Two leaders from vastly different worlds, finding common ground in the void of space. But their moment of peace was shattered by a sudden alarm. The quantum fields were fluctuating, and with them, the delicate balance keeping both ships safe. The next few hours would test not just their technology, but the newfound trust between their species. When stars align, quantum field destabilizing in sectors 3 through 7. Lieutenant Foster's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. "The degradation is accelerating." The Starweaver's crystalline walls pulsed an angry red, their usual gentle glow replaced by erratic flashes that matched the growing instability in the quantum fields. Both ships shuddered as the carefully maintained balance between their technologies began to break down. Captain Rodriguez and Commander Venn raced to the engineering core, where Raj and Tara were already deep in crisis mode. Holographic displays showed the spreading corruption in bright, threatening patterns. "The quantum degradation," Tara explained, her scales nearly white with stress. "It's adapting to our containment fields. It's like it's learning from our attempts to stop it." "Impossible," Raj muttered, his fingers flying over his console. Unless it's not just degradation. Your ship's bioorganic systems, they're evolving in response to the threat." Understanding dawned on Lyra's face. Of course, the Starweaver isn't just dying. She's fighting back. But the fight itself is causing more damage. Maya watched the patterns of corruption spreading across the displays. Something about them seemed familiar. "It's like an autoimmune response," she said suddenly. "The ship is attacking our quantum fields because it sees them as foreign invaders. Then we need to make it recognize us as allies, not enemies," Emily Chen called from her medical station. She'd been monitoring the neural patterns of the cryopods, and now she saw a connection. The Xeranians pass knowledge through genetic memory. What if we could use that to communicate with the ship itself? The idea was radical, potentially dangerous, but they were running out of options. The quantum fields were failing faster now, and with them, the delicate balance keeping both ships and crews safe. "We'd need a direct neural interface," Nex said, their medical expertise coming to the fore. someone to link with the ship's consciousness and guide its response. But the neural load would be enormous. "I'll do it." Lyra stepped forward, her throat frills set with determination. "I'm already bonded with the Starweaver as her commander." "Not alone," Maya countered. "Your ship needs to learn to trust our technology. It needs to understand humans too." The next 20 minutes were a blur of activity as both medical teams prepared for something never before attempted: a joint neural interface between a human, a Zoranian, and a living starship. Emily and Nex worked together to modify the neural interface chamber, combining human biomonitoring equipment with Zoranian consciousness-sharing technology. "This is either brilliant or suicidal," Raj commented as he made the final adjustments to the quantum field generators. "Probably both." "The best human plans usually are," Tara replied, her scales showing a pattern that might have been amusement. Maya and Lyra lay in the modified interface chamber, their hands linked, scaled fingers intertwined with human ones, as neural connectors were attached to their temples. Around them, the ship's crystal walls pulsed with increasing distress. "Remember," Emily instructed, "you're not fighting the ship's response. You're trying to guide it, to show it a new way to survive. Like teaching an immune system to accept a transplant," Maya said, squeezing Lyra's hand. "Or teaching a civilization to accept help," Lyra responded, squeezing back. The neural interface activated, and both leaders gasped as their consciousnesses merged with the Starweaver's vast alien awareness. It was like drowning in light, in memory, in the collected experiences of countless voyages through the stars. The ship's fear and pain washed over them. Fear of the unknown, pain of corruption, desperate attempt to protect itself the only way it knew how. Through their linked minds, Maya and Lyra began to share their own memories. Maya shared humanity's long journey from a single world to the stars, their countless struggles and triumphs, their growing understanding that the universe was too vast and wonderful to face alone. Lyra shared the beauty of Zoranian civilization at its height, the wisdom they'd gained, and the hard lesson they were learning about the strength found in reaching out to others. Together, they showed the ship a new possibility: not just survival, but evolution. The quantum fields weren't invaders to be fought, but a scaffold that could support and strengthen. The degradation had forced them to change, but change didn't have to mean death. In the physical world, the crews watched in amazement as the ship's crystal structure began to pulse with new patterns. The angry red faded, replaced by a deep purple that spread like dawn across the walls. The quantum field readings stabilized, then strengthened. "The degradation patterns are changing," Raj reported, wonder in his voice. "They're not just stopping. They're being incorporated into the ship's structure. It's healing itself." "No," Tara corrected, her scales shimmering with joy. "We're healing it. Together." In the interface chamber, Maya and Lyra floated in shared consciousness as they felt the ship's awareness shift, expand, embrace the new possibility they'd shown it. The Starweaver was learning, adapting, becoming something new, not just a Zoranian vessel, but a hybrid of two civilizations' technologies and dreams. When they finally emerged from the interface, exhausted but triumphant, they found their crews had already begun celebrating together. Humans and Zoranians filled the corridors, sharing food and stories, planning improvements to their linked ships, already looking to the future they would build together. "You know," Maya said to Lyra as they watched their crews mingle, "I think we just made history." "We did more than that," Lyra replied, her scales now showing patterns no Zoranian had ever seen before. "We just proved that the future belongs to those who aren't afraid to reach across the void and take someone else's hand." The Starweaver's crystal walls pulsed with a new, steady light, not the pure blue of its original form, nor the stark efficiency of human technology, but a beautiful hybrid that spoke of possibilities yet to come. Legacy of light. 3 months after the quantum crisis, the joined ships approached the Centauri colonial station, their arrival causing quite a stir among the station's diverse population. No one had ever seen anything quite like them. The crystalline organic beauty of the Starweaver seamlessly integrated with the practical efficiency of the horizon, connected by quantum fields that shimmered with patterns of purple and gold. But the changes weren't just external. Inside the vessels, something remarkable had taken place. The great hall of the Starweaver, once austere in its crystalline perfection, now hosted a blend of human and Xoranian life. Children from the awakened cryopods played among newly grown crystal formations, their laughter mixing with the ship's harmonious hum. Human engineers worked alongside Xoranian technicians, their different approaches to technology creating innovations neither species had dreamed possible. In what had once been the Horizon's mess hall, now connected to the Starweaver by a crystalline bridge, Captain Maya Rodriguez sat with Commander Lyra Venn, sharing a drink that was neither human coffee nor Xoranian light nectar, but something new their crews had created together. The Colonial Council's response came through, Maya said, sliding a data crystal across the table. They're officially offering sanctuary to your people, with full autonomy and protection. Lyra's scales rippled with emotion as she absorbed the news, and the technology exchange program. Approved unanimously. They're particularly interested in the hybrid systems we've developed. Raj and Terra's quantum field stabilizers alone could revolutionize deep space travel. The mention of their chief engineers brought a pattern of amusement to Lyra's scales. The human and Xoranian had become inseparable, their collaborative work spawning dozens of innovations. Their latest project involved adapting Xoranian bioorganic principles to enhance human medical technology. We've received interesting signals from other refugee ships, Lyra said thoughtfully. Word of our survival has spread. More of our people may have escaped the cascade than we thought. And now we can help them, Maya nodded. The quantum field modifications we developed can prevent the degradation from spreading. We can save them all. In the medical bay, Dr. Emily Chen and Healer Nex had made their own breakthrough. Their study of the neural interface experience had revealed new understanding of both species' consciousness. The Xoranian ability to share genetic memory, combined with human adaptability, offered possibilities for preserving and sharing knowledge in ways neither civilization had imagined. You know, Maya said, watching a group of human and Xoranian children playing some hybrid game they'd invented. When we first found your ship, I thought we were just performing a rescue. I never imagined we'd end up creating something entirely new. Lyra's scales shifted to show a pattern Maya had learned to recognize as deep contentment. My people had a saying, the stars guide us to our destiny. We thought we knew what that meant, that we were meant to explore alone, to remain pure and unchanged. We were wrong. Through the viewport, they could see the Centauri station growing larger. Its docking arms were already extending to welcome them, and on its observation decks, crowds gathered to witness the arrival of something unprecedented in human or Xoranian history. The quantum cascade that nearly destroyed us, Lyra continued. It forced us to change, to reach out, to trust. In trying to survive, we found something far more valuable, a way to thrive. In the ship's newly formed garden chamber, where human plants grew among Xoranian crystal formations, First Officer Kex was teaching a group of human children about Xoranian history. His wings caught the light as he gestured, creating patterns that complemented his stories. Nearby, Lieutenant Foster had become fascinated by Xoranian musical traditions, his human violin creating harmonies with their crystalline instruments that made the ship's walls pulse with joy. We should document this, Maya suggested. Both our peoples would want to remember how it all began. Already in progress, Lyra smiled. Terra and Raj are recording everything. The technical innovations, the cultural exchanges, even the new language our crews are developing. They're calling it the Legacy Project. As they prepared for docking, Maya and Lyra stood on the bridge of their hybrid ship, watching their merged crews work in seamless coordination. The quantum fields hummed with stability, the crystal walls pulsed with healthy light, and through it all ran a current of possibility neither species had dreamed of before their desperate encounter in deep space. What do you think we'll find out there? Maya asked, gesturing to the stars beyond the station. Now that we're exploring together. Lyra's scales shifted through patterns of wonder and anticipation. I think we'll find what both our peoples have always sought. Not just new worlds and new civilizations, but new ways of seeing, new ways of being. We'll find out what becomes possible when we're brave enough to reach across the void and trust in something greater than ourselves. The hybrid ship docked with a gentle pulse of quantum fields, its arrival marking not just the end of a journey, but the beginning of something far greater. As the airlock cycled and the crews prepared to introduce themselves to the station's population, Maya and Lyra shared a knowing look. Their desperate encounter had evolved into something beautiful, a legacy of light that would guide both their species into a future brighter than either could have imagined alone. In the ship's crystal heart, where human technology merged with Xeranian biology, new patterns were already forming, telling the story of two civilizations that had found each other in their darkest hour and created something luminous and new. It was a story that would be told and retold across the stars, a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from seeking them, but from being brave enough to reach out and help another in their time of need.